You're listening to the Fitzy and Whipper podcast.
How have you got out of a speeding fine? I mean, when you get pulled over and you are doing the wrong thing, you kind of go, all right, you got me, and it's an important lesson, I accept the fine. I mean, that's what you're meant to say when you're not actually in the moment, but then when you are, it's like, oh, come on!
I agree with you. If you're completely honest and you're apologetic, sometimes you may get a cop that'll go, you know what? Well done. You admitted that you did something wrong. You're only a few Ks over the speed limit. Off you go.
Most of the time, though, if you are speeding, there is a reason. This is an interesting one. Kit Harrington, who we've had here in the studio, friend of the show, in fact. That's Jon Snow from Game of Thrones.
You've got the Game of Thrones theme. Get in there, mate.
Get in there, Mac. With
fire us up. It's coming. Is that from Game of Thrones?
I will slice you with a knife.
They never ever said that. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Crimson Wedding.
And they never actually say that. It's just the name of the episode.
Was it the Red Wedding or the Crimson Wedding?
Gary and Greg Lannister.
There's not a Greg Lannister, mate. So no.
There is a sibling. I shall sleep with them.
Oh.
No, there was a bit of that going on at the start. I mean,
There's
why
a
not?
lot of that going on.
Hook up with your sister.
High five.
No,
is that out of Game of Thrones?
Yes, in the last... Well, you've ruined it for everybody because in the last episode, Borat arrives. and him and Jon Snow go on a tour around America in the back of a van.
The high five.
Oh, baby.
Oh, no,
Is that
that's
in
no.
Game of Thrones?
Groovy, John. Oh, no, that's a bad idea for a film. Jon Snow's been pulled over for speeding. I'll call him Jon Snow. Anyway, the officer said to him, and he's revealed this talking to Jimmy Fallon, the officer then said, look, you're speeding quite a lot, and in fact, there's an option here. I'm going to give you an option. You can come down to the station with me, and I'm going to fine you and arrest you for the speed you were doing, or you can tell me whether or not Jon Snow survives in the end of Game of Thrones.
Don't want to spoil it.
And you are under contract not to tell anybody what happens at the end of Game of Thrones.
Well, what's a fine? A couple of $100? Like, I mean, with the amount of money that Kit Harrington's getting paid for Game of Thrones, you can't throw that away.
He said, I remember the officer saying, he obviously chose not to say, sorry, he chose to tell the officer what happened.
Are you kidding?
No.
Did he?
Yeah, revealed it to the officer. Officer was a massive Game of Thrones fan, and then said, all right then, on your way, Lord Commander. Keep your speed down this far south of the wall.
Awesome.
What a goose.
What a nerd of a cop. What a loser of a cop.
That is great.
So he would be able to then go to his mates and go, hey, Jon Snow. I don't want to ruin it for anybody because I know you're trying to catch up on it, Fitz. You're about to start Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Even though House of the Dragon's roaring,
I've
you're
just
about
started
to
The
start.
Sopranos as well.
I'm going to do West Wing tomorrow.
Do you tell the truth if you're Kit Harrington in that moment, or do you think I'm still not going to breach contract, I'll give you a lie? You won't know till it airs.
But what a great twist, too, says if you do lie, he then watches it and go, the bugger lied me.
I can't give him a fine.
Next thing you know, you get a fine in the mail.
Well,
I've
that's
been
the thing.
fined for speeding and lying.
The cops would come after you for sure if you lied.
Got your beauty. Richard, welcome to the show. How did you get out of a fine?
Hey, good morning. I got out of a fine once, obviously a minor speeding offence. And as the policeman walks up, he comes to the window and he's like, mate, do you know why I've pulled you over tonight? And I said, well, if you can't remember, I'm not going to remind you. And he had a bit of a chuckle, you know, and I'm going, oh, okay, you got a good sense of humour? And he's like, yeah, I do. I'm going, can I tell you a joke? So I told him this inappropriate joke, and I actually got out of the fine.
Good
Richard,
effort.
is there any way you can tell the joke on air without it being...
Nah, definitely not, boys. Like, I'm happy to tell you off air, but can't say
All right,
it.
let's get the joke off air and we'll try and dance around it for the listeners.
So, Richard, you did like a tight five. You reckon if you do a tight five and make the police officer laugh, you can get out of it?
Yeah, well, that actually works for me. So, I mean, if it works for me, I'm sure if other people give me off for a bit of a laugh, you know, I might get out of a few more.
It's not bad.
You'd have to have some good jokes up your sleeve.
Always carry a Christmas cracker right there in case of emergency. Break it open, hand the joke.
Chris in Manly, how did you get out of a fine, Chris?
G'day, Fizz. G'day, Web. Hey, Sarah. How are you?
Morning.
I was down in Manly as an 18-year-old in an old beat-up car of mine with a big subwoofer in the back and all the amplifiers and all that, all the gear, no idea.
Here we go.
And we were blaring the music, me and a friend, pretty late at night. So a cop showed up and he looked in the back seat and said, look, boys, I'm going to have to give you a fine for noise pollution or whatever he called it. And I said, as a little rat bag 18-year-old, I looked at him and I said, well, how do you know it was us? And he goes, well, I can see by the speakers in the back of your car that it was you clearly making the noise. So I looked at the cop and I gave him a bit of cheek and I said, well, look, my speedo goes up to 220 k's an hour. You're going to give me a speeding fine as well. And he looked at me and scrunched up his fine and said, have a good night, fellas, and that was it.
Oh, so I tell you, with some wit, Chris, you got it over the line.
A little bit of wit, a little bit of cheek. I don't know what you'd call it.
See,
I would highly recommend no one goes for the smart ass angle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't reckon that's your best. We've had 2 calls that have worked. I reckon they're the only ones.
It all depends on the mood that the police officer's in on the night, isn't it? I mean, if you're in a great mood, or if you've had a really shocking day as a cop, you're giving fines to anyone.
You're just racking up the tally.
Yeah.
Like we said the other day, we're talking about the fright you get, and it's happened to me when I've been on the phone in the car and a police officer comes up to the side of the window on his motorbike and just taps hard on the window.
Yeah.
Gave me the fright of my life.
Yeah.
What about, have you been pulled over with the kids in the car and you try to act real cool? Hey, don't worry about it.
I got
Everything will be
this.
fine. Dad's got this. It's fine. Can I check your boot?
All right, keep your calls coming.
Jason's given us a call from Erskine Park. How did you get out of a fine, Jace?
Hey, well, good morning, everyone.
Hi, mate.
Thanks, Jess.
I've got my wedding actually next month, and at the start of the year, my rego was due, and obviously all the bills have kind of got lost in the payments.
Yep.
And when I got pulled over, I was very confident. I was like, I haven't been pulled over for anything. I'm all good.
Yeah.
And they've told me that I'm driving unregistered and it hasn't been registered for a year and a half. And
That's about a $1,500, $2,000 fine or something too, isn't it,
yeah,
Jace?
like two $750 fines or something like that. Yeah.
Yep.
And I kind of freaked out. And as they've gone back to the car, I've got all my bills up and paid it all because it's a 5-year car, so they didn't have to get it checked. And when they've come back to the door, I've told them, it's already been paid, like it was paid today. And then they've kind of gone a little bit lenient there, but because they pulled me over that it wasn't registered, I told them about my wedding. And then we went on a conversation about my wedding and COVID.
Oh, okay, just had a bit of a chat. Started to bond.
Yeah, and then they were just saying, obviously, probably too much to give us the fine. And then we just started talking about where the venue was and everything, and then...
yeah, well done.
Yeah,
It's
just
really
mates.
tough.
Just mates. Quick,
Or
mate.
complaining about how they triple the prices for weddings.
Oh, mate, if it's got a W in front of it, you know what I mean?
Well, I told you, my old man, he was a Sparky and a switchboard blew up in his face, and he had burns, scars on his arms where they got him, and he used that for years.
What, when he was pulled
He would
up?
go, mate, you know what, you got me, I was speeding, fair enough. This is going to be a real tough one to pay as well because I'm on work cover. Have a
Yep.
look at my scars here.
Burnt.
Switchboard blew up in my face, and the bloke would go, no. And he'd go, yeah. God, I was in a fair bit of pain. And then the guy would go, mate, don't worry about it. You know, you're doing a really good job. And Dad would go, thanks, man. I can't even pick up the ticket because my hands were
Okay, well, you
burnt."
probably shouldn't be driving a car.
Now you've gone too far. I'm
too
going to
far.
double the fine.
Your son's not Ozzy from Big Brother, is it? Claire, hello.
Hi.
How'd you get out of a fine?
I actually went on a date with a police officer.
Oh, okay.
So on the right there.
He pulled me over because I was driving an unregistered car, and I completely, I didn't realise that was something that I had to pay. I thought the mechanic had to pay it. And he then felt sorry for me, and he was like, okay, I'll get you out of the fine. Would you be happy to go on a date? I finished in half an hour.
Oh, wow.
Now, Claire, can you be honest with us? Was he attractive? Were you attracted to him, or was there a bit of I've got to get out of this?
Yeah, maybe there was something quite nice about a man in a uniform, but I was so flustered. It was a huge fine, and I sort of didn't really consider how generous he was being. But yeah. So he was lovely, and we went on a date. It didn't work out, but yeah, fabulous.
Did he pay for dinner and drinks?
Yeah.
Oh, so you find him.
Did he try?
did.
Did he try to kiss you on the first date, Claire?
No, he was a true gentleman, but I just, wasn't happy to take it any further.
Oh, when he started swinging his handcuffs around at the end of the date, is that what you thought? Oh, maybe I should have just got the fine.
Freeze!
He's pulled me over and then he's pulled the bed sheets over us.
Well, you know what?
Oh, man.
That's successful
Yep.
for Claire. You've had to put up with a bloke for, an hour on a date and you get out of a $2,000
Good
fine.
message in that. God, if I get pulled over, I'm just going in for the kiss. I'm going straight in with the tongue. I don't care who it is.
Do you reckon if you said to a cop, hey, mate, I'm knocking off in half an hour?
How about a bit of how's it going? My shout.
Keep walking.
See you in cubicle 3.
You're listening to the Fitzy and Whipper podcast.